I picked this for you, D.
Yeah, dude. The notorious DJM right here.
I knew you'd like this. I knew you'd feel this.
The hat to match.
Remember rapping, Duke?
The hard. Now,
awesome, man. We are live. So good to have you guys with us, whether you're watching live or whether you are watching the replay. Get it out of the way. First thing, top of the show, remember to drop those comments and questions in the chat. My amazing assistant, Janelle, will be there to facilitate them. Send the questions over to me so we can get Darius to answer some of these questions. Man, my guest today is a guy that I've been courting for a while. So happy to finally get him on the show. He is, in my opinion, the hardest working man in showbiz. This dude is like doing 3 or 4 lives a day. I thought I was working hard, and every time I open my computer, I get a notification that he's going live. So he's lapping me. He is a CEO, an author, host of The Greatness Machine, streaming live on all social platforms. He goes by the rap name, The Real Darius. You can call him D Money, D Nice. He's got all the nicknames going. Darius Mirshahzadeh, welcome to the show, brother. So happy to have you.
Jimmy, dude, thank you, brother. You know, it's funny when I was, my name's crazy, right? So it's a very long Persian name. So that lends itself when you have a big personality to get a shit ton of nicknames. So I counted at one point when I was like 21, I had like 12 nicknames, depending on which group I was hanging out with. I tend to always have like 5 or 6 different sets of friends, and I would have a different nickname for different groups. My friends were like, "What did he just call you?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. That's their nickname."
Right, that's their name. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you keep yours, they get theirs.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Dude, so let's talk about, I mean, first thing, you know, I know you got your book launching in September. What's the specific date, like the 15th or?
Yeah, man, September 15th. That's actually the big reason why I'm doing so many live streams is a lot of it's around like book awareness. I'll be honest with you, man. I love doing live stream. Like if I'm in my brain, I'm like, how can I make money doing this? Because I like this more than anything else that I do. Right. So I'm like, I don't know, I'll figure that part out. But what it's really around like building that community around the launch. And so I'm going hot and heavy, doing, you know, a couple a day. I'm on yours and I got 2 more today. And then I got 4 tomorrow. And I think I got 16 this week. But yeah, man, September 15th, the book launch. Boom.
Core value equation. I haven't been blessed. I mean, I guess we're not boys enough yet where I got the autographed copy and the whole deal.
Bro,
I'm looking forward to digging into it.
You don't even know what's coming your way. Like, I'm serious. Like, when it comes your way, you're actually lucky that we haven't known each other now, because what you're going to get is going to make my other friends that have known me longer jealous that they didn't know me till now.
They're going to be pissed. It's like the deal. It's like, you know, I just canceled my DirecTV a couple months ago, and I was like, you know, you guys basically offer $10 a month, a back rub, and a new car to a new subscriber. But for me, who's been a loyal DirecTV customer for 15 years, I get screwed, you know. So
yeah, they give you like a TV dinner.
Literally, right? It's like, can I get some appreciation points here?
Yeah, no, man, you're the new DirecTV customer. You're gonna get what you're you're getting one of these bad boys. You're getting,
oh, brother,
one of these is coming your way, and dude, you'll see, it's coming. It's going out in the mail today, actually. So
I'll be wearing that at the gym, getting my workouts in, and everybody's gonna be like, dude, where do I get one of those? And I'll just say, hey, man, the real Darius. If you know, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where like they won't be able to get it unless like they're just somebody. So you gotta get in if you want to get some.
I'm all about exclusivity, man. I love that, you know.
For the right folks. Yeah. So dude, book launch is underway. It's 4 weeks from Wednesday. And I'm getting after it. And so, you know, I know you were a pro athlete and I was a D1 athlete, but there was nowhere to go with my athleticism unless I wanted to become a professional wrestler, and which I toyed with the idea for a minute. I mean, I don't look it now, but I used to weigh almost 400 pounds. And it wasn't a healthy 400. I was a healthy 320 though, dude. I was like 18 and 320, and I was like a beast.
Solid.
Like, yeah, it was like D1, 320. I was cutting to make heavies for wrestling.
A brick
And,
shit house is what they call that.
dude, I had a 22-inch neck. Like,
oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. My neck's at like 16 now.
I was going to say mine was at like 17 when I was at my peak and I was lifting and doing a bunch of shrugs and stuff. I was like a 17-inch neck.
Yeah, I didn't really have a neck, but I was a fucking beast, and so I did this leadership camp in Santa Barbara, California, and they're like, and like all the camp counselors, and I was a camp counselor, and it was right after I graduated high school, and I'm getting ready to go wrestle in college, and I get on the stage and I rip my shirt off, and I was just a freaking dirty bulk beast, and and they're like, oh, my name's Darius Mirshahzadeh, I want to be a professional wrestler. And everyone's like, and dude, I swear to God, everyone's like, dude, that guy's gonna be a professional wrestler. Like,
right.
like there was, I'm not tall enough. I'm 6 foot tall, but like 6 foot, like beast. And like, I was a beast. And so anyway, I've taken that beast mentality and I've ran it into business. And now since I stepped aside as CEO of the business I built, I exited that business. And now dude, when you got beast mode mentality, it's not a question of you having it or not. It's where do you put it?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Dude, that's like you're segueing right into where I wanted to go. My whole platform, Be a Pro, is literally the blueprint of what I use to be successful in sports, to be an all-state high school football player, all-American college football player, and then take it to the pros and win a Super Bowl, have a 6-year career. It's literally all of the practices and the habits and the mindset, that awesome. Blueprint. And you can drop it right on to anything that you're doing, any business, anything in life, and just follow that process, follow that blueprint. And so, that's what I wanted to ask you. Where did this idea of core values, the core values equation, come from? Are these, lessons and ideas that you've taken from your experience as a wrestler, as an athlete, as an entrepreneur? Talk about that process a little bit, how you came to the conclusion that this is what you wanted to write your book around, and this is what you wanted to kind of dedicate your life at this point to.
Yeah, like what's funny is I tell people now, and I had this experience about in March or February where 2 doors down from me, I live in Austin, Texas, which is like famous for its barbecue, and 2 doors down from me is the -- pit master in the United States, and he's wow. which is arguably means you're the #1 pit master in the world. And he owns this restaurant here in Austin called Franklin's Barbecue, which if you look it up, it's like the #1 barbecue place in the country. And so this guy's legit. Like he's on Food Network, and he's like a famous chef in that world. In the barbecue world, he's like the guy.
Got you.
And I asked him a question. I said, Aaron, how did you get into barbecue? He said, Darius, I didn't find barbecue. Barbecue found me. And I remember because this is, dude, I just I was CEO of a company that I built from, very small company up to almost 1,000 employees. And I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. I've been in the mortgage space. And I basically I said, I'm done. And I just wasn't, and it's a lot of it's because of what I write about in my book, which was, I respect the space. I respected my company like no other. It's a great company. I love my business partners there. I respect the mortgage industry, but it wasn't aligned with what I wanted. And so I had this moment after I was talking to him where I was like, I wish I had a barbecue. Now, mind you, I just wrote this book like a year earlier, or I had started the writing process a year earlier. I finished my book 6 months prior to making this like proclamation. And then I was like, you dumbass, you do have a barbecue. It's called core values. So what I tell people, Jimmy, is I say, I didn't find core values. Core values found me. What I realized was I've always been a person that even though when I was younger, I didn't necessarily understand that I was a very principled person.
Yes.
I was always like, I'll give you an example, right? Especially if you play sports in high school. And dude, I don't know how old are you? You're like in your 30s?
42.
Oh shit, dude, we're the exact same age. Okay.
Yes.
So dude, we graduated high school, right? I graduated in 96. So you're probably like within
96. Absolutely.
96, baby.
Yes, sir.
So which means you were in junior high school in like 1990. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and you grew up in Montana, is that right?
Idaho, went to college in Montana.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I'm going to guess, maybe where I grew up is different, but like, dude, there must've been fucking bullying where you grew up.
Of course. Okay.
Nowadays, dude, you get expelled for bullying, but in 1990 through 96, and you're a dude playing sports, you probably got punched in the face when you were a freshman by a senior. Like that was just like not uncommon. Yep. Like there was bullying would always happen. And when I was in junior high school, like, dude, I got bullied pretty hard. But I was always the guy where if I saw, and dude, I wasn't like, the reason I became a beast was like, I was like, dude, I got to protect myself because I would get bullied. I mean, dude, I was this like chubby, curly haired, like half Persian kid in Orange County, California. Like, and I had a twin brother who was chubbier and had curlier hair. And to boot, we are shit talking motherfuckers.
Of course.
Like we would, like, I remember being in third grade and like some seventh grader came on the bus and we get the whole bus to clown the seventh grade.
Yep.
Like, and like laugh till they were crying clown. So when you have that combination of being a shit talker and goofy looking, dude, like you play sports, dude, you're going to get beat up. Like that just is 100%. What it is. But I say all that because when I saw other people get picked on, I would always stand up for them. Always. I would always like, dude, and because I'd see kids, because I was like a nerd, like I was not a nerd, I was like advanced honor student type kid. So I'd see the kids, I'm the athlete in the honor student class, and I'm seeing like these kids are, dude, they're like chess playing, freaking Dungeons and Dragons, gonna get like these guys are literally like Revenge of the Nerds, and they're getting bullied. And I just remember like it was never right to me. I'd go up and I would like stick up for them, and so I was always that guy. And then once I did get big, I would stick up for people. I would see people being mistreated. And so for me, I always had this sense of like what's right and what's wrong. Right. And so I don't know, man, that's always resonated with me. And so when I got into business, what ended up happening was I didn't know what core values were, but when I discovered them, it was something about them that made sense to me. And it wasn't that even what I'm talking about was just part of my personality. But what the real thing is this. I had an experience where I went through this program at MIT and I saw companies, like these are some of the best companies in the world, like CEOs from all over the world. We're all under the age of 40. I was 26 when I got in the program. And I saw a lot of the first thing we're taught, and this is put on by this guy named Vern Harnish, who's the author of Mastering Rockefeller Habits and Scaling Up. He's a founder of Entrepreneurial organization. And they're like, dude, you got to have core values in your business. And I had this moment where it was the last day of the 3-year program. It's at MIT. We're graduating. And one of the guys, the company has put on a peer-to-peer learning workshop. And they said, please stand up if your company has core values. Everyone stands up. Myself included, I had written core values out. There were 76 values, 76 words. And they said, please stay standing if you can say the core values off the top of your head. Dude, I sat down.
Wow.
Like right away. But what happened next is the most interesting part. They said, please stay standing if your employees know your core values. So I sat down and along with half of the room. So 30 of the 60 of us sat down. Then they said, please stay standing if your employees know your core values. You could say them off the top of their head. Half of the remaining half sat down. Then they said, please stay standing if your customers know your core values. Everyone's sitting down except the 2 guys leading the workshop. And I don't know, man, there's something about that moment where I was like, so weird that all these great people who I respect have these awesome companies, but none of them like really like truly are using this tool to create. Like if you don't know your core values off the top of your head, then you're not really using them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was just this like aha moment. And then so at first it was just kind of accidental. And then I started playing with it. And the more I played with it, the more I got into it. And then I started realizing that, oh, wow, like this is a really valuable thing. And I can actually kind of lead with it. Now I was always a leader. I was captain of my wrestling team. I was president of my school. Like since I was a kid, I was president of my 6th grade class. I've always been a leader. And so like I've always been attracted to leadership. I mean, dude, I was starting companies when I was like 19 years old because I liked leading. Right. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I was like, I think I can use this as a tool to lead an organization better if I could explain what we stand for and then hold them accountable to that. But part of it's I got to teach them what it is and make it in a way where they can use it. And so I just got nerdier. It was like this like deep dive where I nerded out on core values until you couldn't nerd out any more. And then this one other thing happened. I started my next company, which was the Money Source, the one I just left. And it was a company that already existed. It was a small company. I partnered with the owner who became my business partner. And I went from 30 employees to 300 employees in 18 months. And bro, I had 0 growing pains. 0.
Now that's incredible.
It was incredible, dude. It was like nothing you've ever seen. And it was the first time all this work, I started doing this work in 2006. So this is 7 years into it.
Okay.
Where it's like, it's like 7 years to become an overnight success type of thing. Right. And so, but it was 2015 when I had the realization. So I'm almost 10 years into this journey at this point, and I had this realization. What I noticed was one thing: everyone in the organization kind of was using the same language. And I realized that I had turned the core values into the language of the organization. And if you think of like tribes, or you think of like the most high powered, like think of your professional football days.
Yes.
Like, let me ask you a question. When you won a Super Bowl, did that team speak the same language?
100%. 100%. That team was probably, that Patriots team in 2001 was probably the most unified team, you know, players amongst players of any team I was on for the rest of my career. There was some friction in the locker room, but it was between players and coaches and management, right? And so that friction caused us as a group to band together and say, fuck them. It's all about us. Like, we're in it for us. And that type of cohesion, we were, you know, there was no way we were going to be stopped.
So yeah, so when you look at that team, and you've been playing sports your whole life, and what's funny is I'm now like taking this and turning it into a course and a group called the Greatness Collaborative, where CEOs can join, and like I work with them directly as a group, like building actually like a cohesive, high-powered team around elevating leadership, right? And so I'm just like working on this right now, and I'm talking to the guy that's helping me build my marketing for it. And he's like, "Well, do you have any case studies?" I'm like, "Listen, dude, I wasn't a fucking consultant. I was out there, like I was on the field. Like right. I wasn't like no one brought me in to like fix their problems. I was fixing my own problems and kicking ass doing it." Right. So he said, well, we, you know, like the problem, and this is one of the problems with core values, is that people understand the concept of core values. We have them in our churches, in our communities, in our families, but very rarely are people super explicit about them and then take them and leverage them for high value. Like that's the disconnect. What they say is, if I said, hey, what are your values? Unless you've done value work, you might be like honesty, integrity. Like right. You'll name a few off the top of your head, and then you have to think about it. And I'm like, what do you mean you have to think about it? Like you should know what they are and be able to say what they are. And what I've found is that intuitively we understand what they are. This is part of how we build trust. This is how we have protected ourselves. This is part of the evolutionary process, is we go find people that share in our beliefs and we kind of watch each other's backs, right? This is a tribal mentality.
Absolutely.
So if you think back to your Patriots team, you guys may have been at odds with the coaching staff a bit, but internally, you guys, so the question I'm going to ask is, was there a way people spoke to each other? Was there a way that a belief system, that there was accountability, even though it may not have been explicit, it was understood. And there was then language that you used to communicate around that. It
no
may have
question.
Been
no
slang,
question.
It may have been
100%.
nicknames, right?
100%. So, and it was to your point, every locker room had that, but it was different in different locker rooms. And a lot of it depended on kind of who the leader in the locker room was, depended on who the guy was that, you know, we always used to say, set the tone.
Right.
And that guy who was, you know, maybe not, like you said, maybe not explicitly, but was intuitively very in touch with what his core values were. And, you know, the type of culture that he wanted in a locker room, everybody else would kind of follow suit. And in the same respect, if a guy came in who didn't exhibit kind of those core values, he would almost immediately kind of be exiled from the group, and he was an outcast and a misfit. You know, he'd still play, but guys just didn't relate to him, didn't interact with him that well.
Right. So we call that a core value misfit, right? But you said something, I want to go back to it. Set the tone.
Yep.
Tone is used for language, right? So how are we speaking? What is the tone in our voice? When they say words, what words are they choosing? So in a team environment, and so a football team is a good example because it's not big enough where you have scale issues, right? It's like you're on the field together. You guys are in the locker room together. You guys are rubbing elbows. Or you go, dude, in football, which I love the sport, you're fucking bashing helmets against each other and you're hitting each other physically.
Yep.
So there's an exchange of oxytocin. There's an exchange of hormones when you hit each other, right? And you receive and give, right? And so what ends up happening is tribally, you guys are connecting. And if the tone is established amongst the group, which it sounds like it was very much so with this team, in a cohesive, aligned way, you end up having high performance. Right? The highest performance in the world actually in that given year, and you won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right? So what I say is every organization has that opportunity, But it's different. The stakes are different in football than they are, let's say, at a mortgage company. In a mortgage company, like, dude, if I got a bunch of people that aren't working well together, it's just there's friction in the organization. And then we're putting up with some drama. And, you know, I may be playing therapist to a few of my employees and, you know, taking them aside and talking to them. And what goes away is there's like basically engagement drops. Instead of me getting that 100%, I get 80%.
Yep.
And then that becomes viral. Everyone sees, well, Darius, you know, John over there he's not killing himself. The tone has been established that you don't have to kill yourself to be on the team.
Again, to my point, not to interrupt, but to my point, if one of your superstars in a football locker room is kind of a lazy, half committed type dude, that trickles down to everybody else on the team. You know, when I came in as a rookie, the guy that I chose to model and, you know, study was Terrell Owens. And Terrell Owens just happened to be one of the hardest workers in any locker room. The dude is just a dog, man. I mean, he just, you know, practiced hard, trained hard, and he was kind of the leader in that locker room, and everybody else followed suit.
Right. And so, like, this is where, like, you and I have some strong beliefs around the current leadership of our country.
Yes.
Because and like I'll go there, but put aside your love or dislove of the president of the United States. My issue, I don't care who the president is the leadership starts from the top. So when everyone starts saying, but Biden this, shut the fuck up.
Yes.
Leadership starts from the top. And the reason you feel this way is the same reason I feel this way, because you've seen it in action in environments where, like, you could potentially die if it was not handled properly.
100%.
Right. So leadership starts from the top. I don't care what anyone says. Leadership starts from the top. So you could tell me all this bullshit about Benghazi and Obama this and blah, 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 blah. I go, yeah, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Leadership starts from the top. How you talk matters. What you say matters. How you set the tone matters. Your behavior is modeled by those around you if you're the leader. So there's no excuses for shitty leadership, especially if you sit at the highest position in the country. Now, it's not to say the other party, they got plenty of fucking work to do too, and they're not in the hot seat right now. But if you're in the hot seat, leadership starts from the top. So,
well, and the results that you get, to me, are an indictment on the guy at the top, right? Totally. I mean, that's why in pro sports, if you go, 3-13 or 5-11 or 4-12, too many years in a row, you get shit canned. I think I said on one of your posts, there's no Fortune 50 company in the world whose board of directors would take a look at their company in this type of chaos, division, economic collapse, all this shit, and say, yeah, we should give this guy a raise.
No, 2 seconds they'd fire him. Like the two seconds. So to your point, what ends up happening is he who sits at the top, she who sits at the top owns the results.
Yes.
I've been saying this for 4 years. I'm like,
yes.
You own the results. When I was CEO, I owned the results, good, bad, or indifferent. And so there's a moment in my book where I had this interaction with this guy named Brian. Now, we talk about my most recent company. We didn't talk about my first company, which was the one I was in when I was at MIT. And I was a young CEO. Like, you were on the football field then, and I was in the entrepreneurial world. And I had grown my company from myself to 150 employees in 3 years. I was 25 when I started the company. I had no clue what I was doing. None. Zero. This is why I went to MIT, because I was like, dude, like, by the way, right now, there's so much help for entrepreneurs and CEOs and business leaders. There's so much help. There's so much coaching. There's so many opportunities to like find help. Yes. And there's so many communities of people helping, like you're helping people and Isaac's helping people. And like, there's entrepreneurs organization, there's YPO, there's, if you're in the tech world, there's Y Combinator, there's 500 startups. There's all these different resources. Dude, go back to 2003, 4, and 5 when I was doing this. Boom, big fat fucking goose egg.
That's it.
Okay. So I was 25 and all my friends were like going to like Peace Corps or like traveling or working shit jobs, working at bars. And I'm running a company, right? And it's a high growth company, dude. I'm growing like exponentially. I went from 1 to 150 employees in 3 years. Man. Dude, in order to do that means you went from like 1 to 10 in like 1 year. And then you went from 10 to 20 the next year. And then you go from 20 to 40 the next year. Yeah. I didn't even do that. I'm lying, actually. I went from like 1 to 30 in 18 months. And then I went from 30 to fucking 60 in the next 6 months. Then I went from 60 to 150 in the next 18 months. And I had no idea what I was doing. Okay. So when you're in that hot seat, dude, my company sucked. It was fun it was fun because we were young. Everyone was young and we were like making a lot of money, but it wasn't a great company in the sense that if you look past, I was number 40 in the Inc. 500 in 2007.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, I didn't say 5,000. Like, they didn't even have that extra zero. You had like, it was that hard. Like, if you were 501, you didn't make the list.
Right.
Right. And I was top 40. I was number 40. Right.
That's crazy.
And dude, I was like in my 20s. And so, but the company sucked. It wasn't a great company. I tried hard. I tried to set the tone, but I had this moment, and I want to tell it to you because I think you'll appreciate it. I had this moment where I went to this guy, and I had this, and when I started the company, we were in about a 200 square foot office, and it grew to an 18,000 square foot office.
Wow.
And dude, when I took the 18,000 square feet down, this is in downtown San Francisco. It's now I think like the Airbnb building or something like that. Massive tech space, all 20 somethings in my office. I'm like walking every day thinking I'm hot shit. And I go to this guy, his name is Brian, and I go, hey, Brian, what's up? And we had a problem on one of our files. We're a mortgage company, so we're working on loan files. And we had this problem file, which you have sometimes. And so I go up to Brian, I go, hey, Brian, what's up with the Smith file? I kid you not, he said this to me. I'm CEO of the company, founder, CEO. He's probably like 23 years old. Oh, no, man, not my job. Yeah, he says, I don't know, man, not my job.
That is nails on a chalkboard to me. That phrase right there is probably one of the worst things you can say to me. I've had similar experiences running different businesses, but yeah, crazy.
So Brian says that to me. So I go, oh yeah, Brian, whose fucking job is it then? Is it mine? I'm the CEO of the company right now. So I kind of puff my chest out a little bit because I'm so offended by what he said. I just will storm off. I go to my office. I have this big office, glass, bad. I think I'm the shit, right? Metal desk, blah, blah, blah. Sitting in the middle, overlooking this huge sales floor. I sit in my chair, man, as I'm sitting right now, and I said this. I threw these words up. I said, fucking hate this company. Then I said that, which is important, because the next thing I said was what really mattered. I said, and it's all my fault.
My fault.
It's my fault.
I'm the problem. I'm the solution.
Leadership starts from the top, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was actually right before I had the moment where I sat down at MIT because I didn't know my core values. It was probably a couple months before then. And so I believe that the core values have the opportunity to become the language of your organization and of your life. And I'm in my life right now, I'm on paper. If you look at me, I'm more accomplished now than I've ever been like on paper. Like I have done some cool things,
mm-hmm.
and I've done more than I could ever say. And my biggest learning, if you strip away the accolades, and I have this book coming out. I was number 9 highest rated CEO in the entire country. I grew the 40th fastest growing company in the United States. I've made a lot of money doing all this stuff. If you strip all that stuff away, my number one accomplishment is none of that. You want to know what my number one accomplishment is? In business, not in life, because my number one accomplishment in life is like having a great family and loving my kids and having a great wife. That's by far my best accomplishment. But my number one accomplishment in life at this moment is that I figured out that core values have the power to create the best life you have if you get real with it. And that's my biggest accomplishment, is decoding that and now being able to apply that and help people learn that. That's my number one accomplishment, without question, by like a landslide. So I believe they have the power to become the language of your life and of your organizations. And what my book does is it creates a very, very, you'll appreciate this because you're a sports football player and a sports guy. It becomes a playbook for how do you do it. It's step by step.
There you go.
So Gina Mullican-Long, who was on one of my shows about a month ago, she's this NLP expert. You should see if anyone has not seen that show, I told her, I said, Gina, you were like, I'm not gonna lie to you. You're the Red Witch from Game of Thrones. Like straight up, she has magical powers.
I'm an NLP master practitioner, so I'm sure her and I would speak the same language. I love it. Dude,
she's like straight, like if you're an NLP master practitioner, you should check her out because she's like the master, right? She's like the Bruce Lee amongst masters, right? So she's like a witch. Like I swear to God, if you're listening, Gina, I know you got magical powers. Like, I don't care what anyone says. And so she said to me, she's like, dude, you built a playbook. Like, this is a total step-by-step playbook. And I said, yeah. And you want to know how I did it, Jimmy? Can I tell you how I did it?
Please.
Dude, I made every fucking mistake you can make until there was no other mistakes that you can make.
Failure way to success, right? I mean, that's that, bro. How many of the highest level achievers in any industry will tell you that it's through the failures that they ultimately got the big success, the big win.
Yeah. And that's where I ended up. I did it all wrong and then I started playing with it and kept doing it wrong until I did it better. And then I did it better. And then I had that moment in 2015 where my company had grown from 30 to 300. And I looked back and I was like, how the fuck did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed the same thing you noticed in in the Super Bowl champion locker room that you sat in. I noticed my team was all speaking the same language. There was this dude, I had 300 employees that talked the same way to each other and had that same level of accountability. And I was like, whoa, that was the next epiphany moment. My epiphany was I figured out how do you create a language for an organization.
So on that question came through, so what was the language you found that inspires and achieves the greatest results, both tangible and intangible?
Well, it's really simple. So the results are always tangible and intangible. That's all results. What I found was it's very simple. Every group of people that is trying to do something consistently together, whether that's a family, whether that's an organization you're a part of, whether it's a business you're a part of, whether it's the United States of America, when you are authentic to what you are, and when you own that, and then hold everyone accountable to that language, and then operationalize that language, you then create the language for the organization.
But I think the key to what you said is the authenticity, right? Because there's a lot of people out here trying to be somebody else, trying to be Steve Jobs, or trying to, be a CEO that they read about in a book. And it's really, really easy to see through that. Again, back to my experience, I watched a lot of head coaches come through that had worked under a previous head coach. All the guys from the Bill Belichick tree that have branched out, they tried to be Bill Belichick 2.0. And, there were guys in the locker room that would literally say things like, yeah, this guy thinks he's mini Belichick, because he's trying to portray certain values or certain principles that were Bill Belichick's, but they weren't authentic to that individual, right? Isn't authenticity the key to that?
100%. So one of the things, authenticity is the key to all this. And here's the key though. This is more complicated than I think most people recognize. I think it's actually easier to do this in an organization than it is to do it personally.
Okay.
The reason for it is this: organization just needs to get clear on what their values are, and be unapologetic about it. And it's not a person, right? So a person's super dynamic, and there's a lot of psychology involved with what's called spirodynamics, which is your personal value set.
I've read that book. Yeah, great.
Right. If you're an NLP guy, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so your values can change as you discover your authentic self.
100%.
Right.
Yes.
And if you asked me this question a year ago, I would have said I actually felt, because I was always been really honest with myself to a fault about what I am. And even to the point where I lie to myself about what I am, and then be honest about what I was lying to myself about. Right. So which is if you caught what I just did, that's called a mind fuck.
Yeah.
You're wondering. That's the technical term for what I do to myself. I mind fuck myself, but, and so anyway, organization, it's simpler than that. Just get real with what you are. And as Vern Harnish says, he says, organization is a living, breathing organism. And I like to say people have values, organizations don't have values. So you take this melting pot of values and you just distill it down to its core. What are you? And then you go out and you say, I'm that. Now, if you go and just own it, if you're like a dickhead organization, just be like, dude, we're dicks.
That's it.
Dude, I don't have an issue with our president. I'm like, I do have an issue with it for a lot of reasons, but not for him. He says what he is, dude.
No, he is. He shows you every day what he is.
Dude,
100%.
No question.
I've said that for years. People are always like, oh, you just don't like Trump because he's the opposing party. I'm like, I didn't like that motherfucker back in 2006 or back in 2010. Yeah. I've never liked Donald Trump. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he's president. I thought he was a douchebag before that.
Yeah, but I think he knows it. He's like, dude, I'm all about power. I'm all about being an autocrat. I'm all about being right. I have no curiosity at all. And I'm all about me. I'm about myself. And so just here's my thing. Hey, he's owned it. Everyone else needs to own that too and say, are you okay with that? Now, here's what I don't like. Everyone says, he's not that. He's all these great things. I'm like, nah, dude, he's that. No, he's this good stuff that I can say I support. And I'm like, you're fucking lying. He's not that. And you saying that he's that is the problem. So what I say is organizations have that. And again, dude, kudos to him. He owns what he is, man.
He does. Absolutely.
Like,
that's his greatest quality. I think I've
Yeah.
asked numerous people, like, can you name one redeeming quality of this man as a person? And to me, the only one is that he is authentically who he is. He owns who he is.
He's a fighter, man, dude. And like, there's certain things that I say, I'm like, dude, to your point, he owns what he is. Dude, and again, this sounds bad. Just be Trump, man. Just own what you are.
Yep.
And don't be, and he's unapologetic about it, man. I don't think I've heard the guy apologize, right? He's so unapologetic about it. I'm like, listen, if you want to run a good business, do what he did. Just be honest with what you are, right? And don't lie about it. And so once you do that as an organization, once you trump that thing where you're like, this is what I am, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm unapologetic about it. Now that's the standard. And if you're not like this and you don't appreciate this and you don't resonate with this, get the fuck out of here.
Dude, let me tell you something. That is Bill Belichick. Again, to take it kind of back to my world, that's Bill Belichick to the T. He doesn't care whether you like him, whether you think he's a nice guy, whether you think he's a dickhead. He does him, and he's always consistent, always the same. And, they talk about the Patriot way all the time. The Patriot way is get on Bill's page or get the fuck out. Basically, like, we'll replace you. We don't care if you're a first round draft pick, if we just paid you a couple $1 million, like, if you don't fit in, you don't like it, move on. And there's somebody that will fit in. And that, people always ask me what makes the Patriots so successful. It's that, because the Patriot culture is not great. It's not fun. Guys don't like to be there. It's not a place where you go and say, man, it was so fun to play for the Patriots. You go there to win, and Belichick sets the tone, and that's just it, and it's really single-minded. We're here to win, and that's it. That going in, he owns it. End of discussion.
Right. So taking that mindset of being unapologetic of what you are, owning what you are, and then setting that tone in a business, that's called your values. Mm-hmm. And then my book essentially goes into how do you operationalize it. And there's 5 steps to that process. You got to be authentic. So you got to discover what you are. I say in an organization, you have an opportunity. This is the biggest bridge. I'm bridging the gap, by the way, because discovering your core values is not a new concept.
Sure.
That's a well-worn path.
Sure.
My book is a design book. How do you design that language so that it can be remembered and used and setting the tone and has scale? Because what happens is people they skip the design process. They go to the implementation and the rollout process.
That's right.
And what ends up happening is it starts breaking because it's not set in a way where it's remembered easily. And so fine, that works maybe if you have 5 or 10 employees and you're Bill Belichick and you're in the locker room with them and then you're in the huddle with them and you're around them. And what he's doing is rubbing his core values on everyone constantly, right? Well, yeah, that's a lot of work you have to do. And in a football field, you can do that work. But in life, it's a lot harder because, like, dude, I can't just say I'm firing every single person that doesn't do it my way. I could, right. I guess. But you're gonna have a hard time building a business.
Absolutely.
Like if you and maybe that's wrong. You can do that. And if I'm actively finding people that do it my way or like my way, but I think it's hard. There's a supply and demand curve in football that's in favor of Bill Belichick.
100%.
The supply is super fucking low. The supply of positions is super low. The demand is super high.
Absolutely.
Right? So he could kind of tell everyone to fuck off if he wants. Unless I don't know of a business where you have that. People will tell you to fuck off and they'll go to the business that they like. So what you have to do is just do it in a more palatable way, but figure out what you are and then go out there and say it. And then design value so that they're willing to learn it. Because I could go to your locker room and be like, we're all about winning. If you don't like it, leave. I can go to my company and do that. And people are going to be like, I'm going to go out. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm going to go get a Coke. Do you want something? Like they're not as invested in being there because the supply and demand is a little bit different.
Well, so that's the next question here. So, I think in the book, you mostly take it from the perspective of your business owner, your leader, how to implement those core values. Let's flip it a little bit and say that I'm an employee of a company and I've got my personal core values and they don't align with that of the company or with the leadership or with my head coach or with my boss. what are some strategies if you're that person, if you're not in a position to just say, ah, fuck it, I'm out. What are some strategies to deal with that?
Well,
or how would you approach a situation like that?
Yeah. So there's a couple answers. So first of all, how easy is it for me to leave and go find a company that does align to my values is the first question I'm going to ask. So if it was my kid asking me this question, I would say that would be my first question. So if the answer is super easy, I'd say, go find a new company.
Right.
Don't why are you trying to make it work? They've told you when someone tells you what they are, believe them.
It's
right?
kind of like a relationship, right? Once you realize it's not in line with your core values, we're not right for each other. Go move on. There's other fish in the sea.
Yeah, my mom says it. When someone tells you what they are, believe them,
yes.
right? So if you can go find if there's plenty of fish in the sea, go find another fish. Now, if you're in a position where maybe from an educational standpoint or like a resume standpoint or whatever, life situation where like losing your job is really not an option or finding new jobs really hard, then it's really just, you just got to be honest with yourself that it may take longer. And the answer is still the same. Go find a new job.
Right.
Go find a new skill set. Go do something different that aligns with your values. Because, dude, the way I see it's this: you only have one life to live. So, are you going to live it in quiet desperation and mediocrity? Or are you going to go be you and own it? And that's why I said it earlier. I said, if you ask me my greatest accomplishment, it's figuring that out. Is that I get to own, and I didn't tell you this, but the core value equation it essentially is the following: your core values equal all the results in your life, good, bad, or indifferent.
I love it.
And there's a whole that's the law. That's when I apply what's called the law of transitive equality, which is if A equals B and B equals C and C equals D and D equals E and E equals F, A equals F. That's the A equals F. Core values equals results. The book kind of goes through the B, C, D, E, and then gets you to the F. So we learn about all the different parts, and a lot of that's around NLP, which is the words we choose shape what we are. And
perception is projection, 100%.
Right. So let me ask you a question, Jimmy. If the words we choose shape what we are and what we do, what is the language made of?
Our thoughts.
No, yeah, right. But what is an actual language? What is it comprised of?
Help me out.
It's just words, man.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking too deeply. Yeah, it's a collection of words used to express what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, how we're feeling, and that's. But I think the key to what you're saying is that the interpretation that we get from the world is based on the words we use to describe it to ourselves.
Well, and so that's one way, and the other way is internally. When I'm having those, do you know how many decisions a human being makes on average in a given day?
Thousands.
Yes, 35,000, right?
Yeah,
is on average. So 2,200 an hour. How many internal conversations do you think you're having with yourself to make those 35,000 decisions?
It's all day long.
Right. So what words are you using to yourself? What words are you saying to yourself? Are they negative words? Are they positive words? Are they abusive words? Are they aggressive words? Are they kind words? Are they loving words? The results we get in our life are based off the language that we have and the words we choose.
Dude, I love that you made that point. I mean, I talk about it in the most simple terms, just the positive self-talk, change the language in which you use to speak to yourself 100%, because you will, again, going a little bit deeper into NLP, your subconscious mind will believe anything you tell it, essentially. And so when you start when you tell your subconscious mind, I suck, I'm shit, it says, okay, cool. Then my job as your subconscious mind is to be congruent with that. And so I'm going to, make behaviors and actions that are around this idea that you suck and that you're shit, and so that's how you act, how you behave. And those are the results that you get.
Yeah. I had a friend who, and this was kind of the first time I started seeing this. So when I was in college, I had this friend who was the smartest guy I know, but he's kind of average looking dude, right? Like average is maybe on the high end, right? And dude, he crushed it. He would pull the hottest girls, right? And I remember because I was, I consider myself a pretty average looking dude, but I was amazed. I was how
are you doing this shit?
Yeah. And what I realized was dude, he was so confident in his being because he knew he was so brilliant. Right. And so what I realized was and there's a book called The Undoing Project. And I've
read that, Michael Lewis.
Right. So it's
read it.
about Kahneman and Tversky, right?
Yes.
Which is how do we as humans make decisions? And they use the logic of if I say, hey, I'll give you, there's 100%, like they use the win versus the lose, right? So it says, look, I'm going to flip a coin. And if you win, I'll give you $100,000, right? And if you lose, you're going to get zero. Would you flip the coin? And the answer is like, yeah, of course I'll flip the coin, right? Now they took it the other way. They said, if I flip the coin, if I win, I'm going to take 100,000, or I don't think it was that. It was like a guaranteed $50 or guaranteed 50,000, or you flip it and you win, you get 100.
Yes.
Right. That's what it was. And then he said, I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to flip it. And if you lose, you have to pay me 100 grand, or you have to just pay me 50 grand up front. And every single time they'd flip it that way. But on the other way, they'd take the 50 grand.
Yep.
So what they proved was that we do not make decisions based off of logic. We make them based off of emotion. And so I realized, and the part of the brain that controls decision-making is the reptilian brain,
yes.
which, by the way, has no capacity for language. So it's how do you make people feel? And Simon Sinek talks about this in his really famous talk from 2009, his TED Talk, which is we make decisions based on how people make us feel. And words have the ability to give tone, which makes us feel certain things. Yes, and people always say, no one will ever remember what you say. They'll remember how you made them feel. So my belief is that core values have the opportunity to bridge that gap where you can help people feel a certain way. So when you were talking about mini Belichick's, these guys hadn't yet discovered or owned or had that confidence about what they are. And that's all it would take for him to go in there. He's not going to be Belichick. No one's Bill Belichick except Bill Belichick, right? No one's Jimmy but Jimmy. No one's Darius but Darius. So when these CEOs, when I see people try to be someone else, which we're told bullshit like that when we're young. Fake it till you make it. Be this guy. Right. Be that girl. And I'm like, the best advice you give people is be yourself. Like as hard as you can be yourself. And people don't like it will get the hell away from you. And people that love it will be twice as into you. Isn't
it so easy to spot somebody who's trying to be somebody else? It's like a guy's trying to be a hard ass and you're like, dude, come on. You're all bark, no bite, or somebody's trying to be loving and kind. And you're like, I know you're only doing this, for some gain of your own because you're really a dickhead. It's so easy to spot that and has such detrimental effects on an organization or, on the team or on the collective whole when the leader is so easily seen through. Yeah. And what it does is it diminishes the value of the organization. So what you end up with is lack of credibility. You end up with disengagement. And dude, Gallup has some great data around this. By the way, you asked how I got into this, and the answer is I got obsessed with engagement. I wanted high engagement. Yeah. Right. Dude, look, when you have that athlete mentality, like especially like wrestling and football, which is really, really, really physical, right? You get hurt a lot in those sports. Yeah. And it's body to body, and it's like you're hitting people. And I love contact sports. I'm a guy that when my buddies, I'll see them, I'll body check them. I don't know what it is, man. Like there's something about that rough play that there's an exchange of oxytocin. There's a trust around it. And it's not in a way where I'm like going to hit someone in the balls when they're not looking, which by the way breeds distrust, right? It's something where they know it's coming and they can do it back to me and we're good. Right. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I noticed when people were not all in on our team, I wanted them off the team. Don't be here. And I just carried that with me into business. And I noticed when I started seeing the business, I couldn't just kick them off the team. Right. I couldn't make them line up and do baselines until they puked to be part of the organization. Right. As a coach or as an athlete, I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to run my team till they puke. And then I'm going to make them bond on that shit. You can't do that in a business. I mean, you can, but you get sued for it. One of the things I've always said is that the best coaches and the best leaders, they have a set of core values, right? They have a way that they operate and interact, but the best ones will figure out the needs of their individual people. The Phil Jackson is obviously one of the best examples of that. We've all heard those examples. Phil treated Michael Jordan completely different than he treated Dennis Rodman, because if you treat Rodman like you treated Jordan, you lose Rodman. He's no good to you. Right. And so to a degree, don't you think that, we've had a couple questions come in from viewers saying things like, okay, well, as a leader, how would you deal with somebody challenging your core values, somebody in your organization challenging your core values. But I think there's a space in there where you can try to uncover what works best for that person. And as long as you're not compromising your core values or the core values of the organization to, kind of appease what that person needs, I think that's a safe space, right?
Yeah. So I just did last year. I did this program. It's a really renowned program called Stagen, and it's a 1-year conscious leadership program. And so the whole idea around conscious leadership is meeting people where they're at.
Yes.
Right. And so that's what I hear you ask.
100%.
How do you meet people where that? And I think that I see it as layers, right? The bottom layer of the organization, the foundation, this is the thing that goes 10 feet deep into the ground. Or if it's if you think of a skyscraper, it's probably hundreds of feet deep into the ground, right? That is the foundation, is your mission, vision, and values, and especially your values. That's what holds everything up. When I go above that, that's non-negotiable. If I have a person coming in and I feel friction there, or they're rubbing up against that or challenging that because they really don't believe in that, then it's a conversation stopper. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to meet them on their level. They shouldn't be in my organization.
Right.
And because that's my organization, that's our company, that's what we believe. There's no room for negotiating that. But unless one way, I'm breaking them and they're challenging me on breaking them. If they're saying, Darius, you're breaking them, they have full authority to do that if I truly am. Now, in the design process, we bake them out because there's a lot of weaponization of core values. As you use them more as a tool, you'll have core value misfits. You'll have the guys on the team that don't want to do the work or don't want to live the values, who will come in and they'll challenge that they're not real, right? My company, people matter, was our number one core value. Oh, people don't matter. And I'm like, no. Person don't matter. That's what I tell them.
Right.
I'd say it says it's people for a reason, bro. It's plural. Like, I get this might not be good for you, but I'm not trying to just please you. I'm trying to please 900 other people.
I love that distinction. What a great distinction.
Right. So people will weaponize them. So if it's a situation where you're being challenged because they're being weaponized, easy, beat it. If you're being challenged because the leader's breaking it, different story. Then my answer is, leader better step up and rectify this, and or figure out why they feel that way, meet them on their level. And this is where conscious leadership comes into play. As a conscious leader, I need to meet people on their level to elevate them, to get the best out of them. What you're talking about is Jackson went to Rodman, went to Pippen, went to Jordan, and he met them on their level because he needed the most out of them.
Yes.
Now, he only had to do this with 5 guys on the court.
Right. It's different. Scale breaks things, as Simon Sinek says.
Right. And my belief is that core values glues it all back together.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the glue, dude. That's the glue.
I love it. Well, we're running short on time, man. I don't want to keep you all day because I could literally do this for about 3 hours with you.
Yeah.
I would love to ask you what the process is of uncovering your core values, but I'm going to direct everybody that wants to know the answer to that question to buy your book. Isn't that the easiest way to get that answer?
Yeah. So the book's cool because it gives you the process. And what we didn't dive into is in the implementation process and in the rollout process, a big part of how we invite people, new folks into the organization, is we teach them their values. And I think that's a really important part.
I love that.
Is teaching people their values and then attaching their values to the company values. So what I would say is, the book comes out September 15th. You can buy it on Audible. It's on all the different networks. So if there's an audiobook, amazing guy from Montana, actually, who graduated from Juilliard, did the voiceover for it. Really amazing actor. But yeah, you can buy the book. You can go to my website. You go to Amazon and get it. I
think Janelle put the link in the chat for the Amazon.
Yeah. Buy the book. If anything, buy it, learn about how you can apply it. And you can just take it from the standpoint, this is meant for organizations, but you can apply it to your life in the exact same way. The next book is about how do you apply it to your life, like specifically, because it's a little different. There's less importance around scale. There's more purpose around authenticity. Mm-hmm. And it's not that the authenticity is different. It's that as a human, sometimes we lie to ourselves a lot. And so it's real. So there's some evolution that needs to happen. But once you get really clear on like, hey, this is what I am. And like, man, I was brought up in this environment or that these parents or in these communities that told me I couldn't be that. And I got the courage to stand up and say, I get, Mom, Dad, that you don't want me to be that, but I just don't agree with you. And I am that. That's where I think the real like love happens in our lives, is when we can truly love ourselves when A, we quit lying to ourselves, and B, we unapologetically live our values. And when we do that, I think the world feels that radiation of us and that resonance of us. And everyone starts, like, the Jimmy Farrises and the Dariuses meet each other because we're doing that for ourselves.
Man, you know? I love it, dude. What a great message, man. You're already having such an impact. I know this book is going to impact so many people. Where can my viewers find you on social media, on social platforms, where they can start following the Greatness Machine, obviously where they can buy the book and just keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah. There's a couple places. So you can follow the Greatness Machine on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Those are two. I'd say do both of those because you get the email notifications of each of the shows as they happen. So yeah, at The Real Darius M on Facebook, and hashtag just type in the Greatness Machine on YouTube and you'll find the channels to subscribe to it. I think the links are in I gave them to your assistant. The other place is www.therealdarius.com. So by the way, did you pick up on that? I stole Trump's Twitter handle and that's where I came up with
I didn't pick up on that. No, I love that.
He inspired me. So Trump, the real Donald,
yes.
The Real Darius is totally based off his Twitter.
I love that. That's a great nugget that I did not know.
Last but not least, I like Instagram. That's where a lot of my personal stuff is. I just start fights with people and do business stuff on the channel. And LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, but for business, and you can just look me up by my name. But on Whoomp Darius, WHOOMP Darius, and being a class of 96, you'll appreciate. When I was in high school, one of my nicknames was Whoomp Darius because Whoomp, there it is.
I was just gonna say you need to make it a Whoomp Darius. It is.
So the football team would scream Whoomp Darius when I walk down the hallway. That's one of my nicknames. So yeah, man, Whoomp Darius on Instagram. If you just want to see my kids and my dog and like me, like just being at the show. I'm on everything. But if you go to www.therealdarius.com, you get all my social, and I leverage social pretty hard. I like to have fun on all the social networks.
Yeah,
man. Thank you.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot just a little bit. My last question, ask everybody this question, and you're a former athlete, so you'll probably have a quick, good answer for it. The concept of be a pro came from a old coach of mine. One of my first coaches with the 49ers said to me, he said, "Come on, man, you're not an amateur anymore. You're in the pros now. You got to learn how to be a pro." What does it mean to you to be a pro?
I mean, it's simple. I think that being a pro is around ownership, right? And accountability. And so I'm in a bunch of CEO forums, right? And these are like confidentiality forums. We meet once a month for two of them I'm in, and these are just like some legit people, right? And then I'm in one that we meet weekly. And we were talking about how do you like crush it in life, right? How do you like really, really live a successful life? And we call it living an epic life. And so we're doing this work around how do you live an epic life? And the conclusion I came to was really simple. Working your strengths. So where are your talents? Make sure you're like working in those talents. When you're there, collaborate with people who have share, like basically your talents offset their weaknesses, and your weaknesses are offset by their talents.
Yes.
Right. So work in your strengths and collaborate with those that fill the gaps. That's number one. Number two is, and I say this and it's going to sound kind of obvious, figure out what your core values are, be unapologetic about them, and live them day in and day out. And when you feel friction, figure out why you feel friction and change that behavior. And then number three is those should level up to a higher purpose, which is like, and this is having an awareness around how you are in the world. So do consciousness work, figure out your purpose, live that purpose. And I think one of the really good ways of doing that is through meditation. By doing meditation, we are forced to learn the practice of awareness. And as we practice awareness, it turbocharges the other two areas I just talked about, because we become aware of when we're out of alignment with our values. We become more aware when we're out of alignment with our talents. And I think being a pro is around owning what we're good at, what we're bad at, and what we are and what we're not. And like being unapologetic about it and being responsible to making it come to life every chance we get.
That's it. 100%, man. You just nailed it. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Likewise.
And for you guys that are tuned in live, thank you so much for your viewership and for those questions. If you're watching the replay, feel free to drop those questions in the chat, in the comments. Myself and Darius will go back through and answer as many of those as we possibly can. Appreciate you guys so much. Darius, thanks again, man. I know we'll connect very soon. And to all you guys viewing out there, I will challenge you, as always, to go out and be a pro. Thanks so much. See you next time.